Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everybody. First and foremost, we just finished the full weeks of travel, going down to Orlando for our National Association of Realtors yearly expo. For the past, I think, 3 years now, I've been honored because I was voted by you guys, the members, to serve on behalf of our association over at the national level. So, past 3 years, typically every year now, I travel about five weeks out of the year to learn both on the state level and on the national level what is going on with our industry. What amazes me the most is at these meetings, I get to meet individuals from both here locally, throughout the states, and nationally, where we kind of sit and we talk about issues that we are facing as an industry. And what I always find compelling is, out there in the everyday world, we are really competitors with each other. But the realtors throughout the nation, we come and unite as one, where we sit down and we break down these problems and issues that we have to make our industry better, which I think is one of the most unique things that we ever see in any industry or any business out there. So I commend all those that have, put in the time, put in the effort to serve for our industry to make it better. And today I'll have a couple of reports. I have one from Lee Lieberg, Ling Chow, and Tom Berge Jr. is on some more travels as usual. So I'll report on his behalf. He has a report. So first and foremost, I'll have Lee Lieberg, who'll come up and he'll talk a little bit about some of the governmental affairs issues that we're having in the elections.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always good to go to these conferences, and I was talking to my 13-year-old son this morning, and he was asking me what I was doing. I said I was reviewing my notes from the meetings, and he said, "What meetings did you go to?" And I said, "The political meetings, the risk management, and the economy." And he said, "Did you learn anything, or did you know everything already?" And the disappointment in his eyes when I said, "No, I didn't know everything already." I actually learned a lot from these meetings. So I let a 13-year-old down this morning, but I know I won't be asked that question here. So I went to the political ones. Exciting. Typically, these meetings are held after the election, and we recap everything that happened. This year, the way the calendar fell, we met before the election. So they brought in all the experts to tell us what was going to happen in the election. So I have all my notes here, and it says that Hillary Clinton's going to win the presidency, and the Senate's going to go Democrat, and I guess I don't really need these notes anymore. So what is harder to figure out is really what it does mean for us as realtors. We are, everybody's registered to their party. Most people are Republicans or Democrats, and then you have the Libertarians and the Greens and everybody else. But when we come together in this room, when we come together at CAR, when we come together at N.A.R., we're the Realtor Party. And you vote the way you want to vote, but we have to represent realtors, we have to represent the interests of homeowners and that of our industry. So we typically, well, not typically, we never put our money behind a presidential candidate. That's just something that N.A.R. will not do. It's too divisive. But that said, we do spend more money than any other trade association in the country on the races, the congressional races and the Senate races. 2 years ago in the last congressional cycle, we donated more money than anyone. So now you have Citizens United. Has a very nasty name, reputation. Everybody hears about it and they say, "Oh, that's terrible, it's the money in politics and everything." Well, Citizens United enables National Association of Realtors to do what's called independent expenditures. So we can donate to certain congressional candidates and senatorial candidates, but there's caps on those. They're usually about $2,500. Beyond that, we can do what's called an independent expenditure. And there's no limit on that amount of money. It can't be done in connection with the candidate's campaign. In fact, the candidate's not even supposed to know about it. But it would be things like if we as an association decided to put together a slate mailer for candidates in San Gabriel City Council races, something like that. That would be an independent expenditure that we could then take our money and use it for. So this cycle, we ended up with 7 campaigns that we targeted for independent expenditures. 3 of them were senatorial races, and 4 of them were congressional races. The congressional races were Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New Jersey. 3 Republicans and one Democrat. And in the Senate races were Georgia, Nevada, and Ohio. So in all 3 Republicans that we supported. What they did this year and was different than what a lot of trade organizations do. And we didn't just go and throw money behind the candidates that we thought were going to win, which is all too common. And unfortunately, frequently it doesn't produce the kind of results that we would like, because we'll throw money behind a candidate and he won't give us the time of day. Well, we could say we back the winner, but what's he really going to do for us at the end, or she going to do for us at the end of the day? So they tried to pick 7 races that they thought were close, where we could make a difference. Kaufman in Colorado won with 52% of the vote. Dole in Illinois lost. Nolan won in Minnesota with 50% of the vote. He won by 2,000 votes. They both had 50%. So you could see that we didn't just take the easy route in these races. In New Jersey, we supported the Democrat Gottheimer, and he won with 51% of the vote. Georgia, Isaacman won with 55%. In the Senate, the race that we lost was Heck, who was going after Harry Reid's old seat in Nevada, and she lost 45 to 48. And then Portman in Ohio won with 58% of the vote. So when I looked through that list, I was really quite proud that we had taken a different tact and that we were trying to make a difference in areas where it would have an impact. You said I had a half hour? Let me see what else we've got here. So now, the hard part is to figure out, where do we go from here? And the conventional wisdom at N.A.R. was that Hillary would go after the corporation tax structure more, but Trump will go after the entire tax structure more. So there's going to be a huge wave of support to just about scrap the tax code and start over. What we as realtors are concerned about is the mortgage interest deduction, 1031 exchange, and property tax deductibility. We were most concerned about property tax deductibility. They were calling that the low-hanging fruit. But again, that was prior to the election. So it may all be low-hanging fruit now. As an aside, on 1031s, when I was at the commercial meeting, they said that 75% of the commercial transactions involve a 1031 exchange. So you can see how that would impact that part of our business should they make changes there. The mortgage interest deduction, the way they're going after that is they're trying to raise the standard deductions so that people don't itemize. And there's a plan that's been floated for the past probably 3 years from the Republicans. Probably will get some traction with the new makeup. and it does just that. It lowers the cap on the MID, mortgage interest deduction, that you can take, and then it raises the standard deduction. So what they're going to do is they're going to create a very narrow pocket of people that use the mortgage interest deduction, and then come back and say, it's obsolete, see, we don't use it anymore, we don't need it. And that could be a major problem for our association. The home affordability is at a 50-year low. The median income from 2000, the median family income from 2000 across the nation was $58,000. The median income in family income in 2016 is $56,000. I mean, is there any wonder that people want to change this week when they're making $2,000 less than they made 16 years ago? All right. One of the local issues that's getting a lot of attention across the country is rent control. Everybody's afraid of the cost of housing, the cost of rents. Rents are skyrocketing. I talked to my mechanic yesterday. His rent's gone up 3 times in the last 12 months. You're starting to hear stories like this, and unfortunately, a lot of the politicians, their answer is to fix the amount that you can increase the rents. So rent control. Everybody knows I'm tight to Venezuela. I look at Venezuela had a problem because food was too expensive. They put in price controls on food, and now there's no food. So the way to incentivize people to build more housing, which is what it's going to take to solve our housing shortage, is not to limit the amount of money that you can make on your investment. So hopefully they'll see that, and but we'll be fighting that fight for quite some time. On the risk management meeting, a lot of it doesn't apply to us, but a lot of it does. It impacts everybody. There's flood insurance is going to be another hot issue. They make us earn that every couple of years. That comes up, and they don't want to give it to us for too long of a period because they want us to come back and ask for it and use up some of our goodwill to get that. Wildfires. We're seeing more wildfires. I think as we see development spread into these areas, you're going to see more wildfires, and that insurance is going to be harder to get. There's the Clean Water Act, which is really impacting people's ability to develop your own land. If there's any water at all on your property, then it falls under this act. And now they're trying to come up with something similar that's called the Clean Air Act. PACE loans came up. Well, we've heard those stories for quite some time, but they talked about one where it was a $170,000 house, and the lady was a widow and she lived there. Her taxes are $1,800. Her PACE bill is now $1,700, so almost double what her property taxes are. They stuck her with a roof for $20,000, an air conditioner for $16,000, changed 5 windows and a door, and charged her $20,000. So she's going to lose her house because the bank won't refi it because the PACE loan has a super lien, so it's recorded on title prior to the bank's mortgage. So the banks don't want to work with her, and she will most likely lose her house. On the economic front, very interesting. Lawrence Yun is always good. Most of you have heard Lawrence Yun. If you're interested, go to N.A.R. and you can find the tapes of some of his presentations. They talked about growth being 2.9% and how misleading that was for various reasons, but they said that number would probably be adjusted down and it would end up about 1.5%. part of that, I think, was just kind of puffing the economy prior to the election. One of the things they pointed to was the increase in payroll. And they said, well, look at how good the economy's doing. Our payroll just went up by 3%, but the increase coincided with when they raised the minimum wage. So it was a bit misleading as to what the true factors were that led to that increase and what the actual increase was. Let's see what else I've got here. One of the economists talked about going right to the information and not listening to the government reports that come out on the economy and everything. And it was kind of an interesting presentation. He talked about looking at the contracts for rail transportation across the United States. So everything that gets transported across the United States, it goes into manufacturing, it goes into the retail stores before Christmas. So it's either a component or a product that somebody's then going to sell and turn. So it happened. So his case was that it's an important barometer of where the economy really is. He said that number is down for 6 straight months. And he said every time in the past that it's gone down 6 straight months, there's been a recession. So he was calling for a recession for the first 3 months of next year, for the first 3 quarters, of 2017. That was the bad news. The good news was that he said it will be very mild. It won't be anything like the last recession. And which also makes sense because we have had quite a period here of 6 years or so of positive growth, even though it hasn't been robust. It's going the right direction. So anyways, he expected us to have a recession, but he also said that the fundamentals in housing, because of the short supply, bode well for our industry. So he thinks that maybe things will flatten out, but he didn't think that things would be hard for us. Be happy to answer any questions for you if you have them afterwards, and I appreciate your attention, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee, for that wonderful report and the wealth of knowledge. Next up, I'll bring Ling Chow, who will speak a little bit about global.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Are we awake?
Yes.
I have to, no? Who says no? Okay, since Lee took about 25 minutes, I only got 5 minutes left, okay? I had the honor to go to N.A.R, Orlando, Florida, for a couple days. I tell you guys, that place is huge. I pretty much walk about 6 miles a day because the bus doesn't come in on time. We always have to wait for the bus for the meeting, so we decide to walk. So I have blisters on my feet, and I have it was a big event. But however, we met so many people from overseas. There were people from Malaysia, Hong Kong, France, Greek, Egypt. I mean, some people travel like 20 to 30 hours flight just to get there. So guess who was the largest international realtor that came? Our neighbor, Canadians. Canadian came about like more than about almost 200, and the second one is China. But China came about 100-some agents. We don't get to see them very often. I think that most of the time maybe they're at Disneyland. But there is quite a few of them, okay? So there is a lot of people are very interested about global real estate in N.A.R. Next year will be in Chicago. Maybe some of you would like to attend as well. The Global Business Council that we have here started in 2008, and before we had on and off global committee. But since 2010, we have continued to win the Platinum Award. And 1 year we didn't was the association, Gold Association, Ambassador Association to Taiwan. In 2010, we become the, 2009, I think, we become the ambassadorship to Taiwan. And we are pleased to inform you that we won again for 2016 for the Platinum Award. And Kevin and I was there to accept the award, and Albert bringing back the plaque from N.A.R. I want to share a little bit with you what N.A.R. is telling us. Where is foreign buyers buying? David. This is why I have my crew here. Can you guys see that? No. Okay. Okay, I can't see it either, so I'm going to wear my glasses. You know, when I started here at the association, this was not necessary, okay? And I got old throughout the years. Number 1, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. Number 2, us. Yay, Los Angeles. I don't know why they're buying a Long Beach. Port? Caesar says port. There's no seafood there. Anaheim. Number 3, Bellingham, Washington. Number 4, Santa Cruz of Watsonville. Who buys in Watsonville? Do you know that's a farm town? Oh, Caesar says we just approved marijuana, so they're there for marijuana now. Number 5, New York, Newark, Jersey City. Number 6, Orlando. And kiss me, right? We all know that town now. Sanford, Florida. Number 7. Okay, Mel Wang is not here to help me pronounce this. Kahului, Walla Walla. Okay. Lahaina, I know that one. I think that's on Maui, right? Hawaii. Urban, Honolulu, Hawaii. Number 9, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Florida. Number 10, Houston, the Woodlands, Sugarland, Texas. I don't know where Sugarland is. Orland? Okay, so you guys probably know more than I do. But there is the report from N.A.R. saying that where the international buyers are. And they're buying, okay? So, you know, international doesn't mean just China. There's other places. And believe it or not, Russia is buying quite a bit here too. Yes, Russian. The mafia. Okay, any question, anything you want to ask me, I'll be around, I think. Tomorrow we're doing a trade mission to Taiwan. I just got back Sunday. I'm flying again tomorrow. My suitcase is still there. And I just got over with the 3 hours change. You know how hard it is when you're meeting at 7:30 in the morning in Florida? We get up at 6 o'clock because we have to catch and make sure we get there. I'm really exhausted. I'm really getting over this. Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Ling. Up next, I will report on behalf of our N.A.R. director, Tom Berge Jr., who attended a full week's worth of meetings and had some important issues that they talked about at the board of directors over there. So I have his report right here, which I'll kind of go through with you guys. Commitment to Excellence framework was passed. This is a board of directors approved the framework for the Commitment to Excellence program and initiate to develop and enhance qualities that will reflect the commitment of a realtor to ethics, advocacy, technology, data, privacy, and customer service. As part of this voluntary program, which is a contingent upon approval from the Finance Committee at the Board of Directors, N.A.R. will develop a self-assessment designed to measure a realtor's proficiency in C2EX competency and position him and her for improvement. The program will be made available to members through a website and a mobile app known as C2EX Central. N.A.R. will cover the full costs of the Commitment to Excellence program and administer it. So this is something that will go above and beyond our Realtor Code of Ethics. So kind of look out for that. On the fair housing forefront, the Board of Directors voted to support or initiate legislative and regulatory efforts that would bar discriminating against people seeking to procure housing based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. The Federal Fair Housing Act protects equal housing opportunity on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and national origin, but on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, this is not on there. So they're going to be adding that. Something that might be very crucial for all you guys, appraisals on FHA properties or FHA loans. The Board of Directors voted to urge FHA to avoid its requirements that an appraisal stays on the property for 120 days. The requirement to keep an appraisal with a property for 4 months can negatively affect property values in the markets where prices are rising. So this might be an issue that you guys are faced with. So if somebody's getting an FHA loan, appraisal comes in short, that appraisal stays on that property. If somebody else wanted to get an FHA loan and purchase that property, that appraisal stays on there for 120 days. So N.A.R is making a big push to have that removed. So the next buyer that comes in, the appraisal report will only go with that buyer that was assigned to that property. So if a new buyer came in and there was another appraisal done, and they were getting an FHA loan, they would be able to purchase the property if the appraisal price came in at the purchase price. So look out for that. The RPAC. Board of Directors voted to encourage states and territories to submit their own annual RPAC fundraising goals for the following year. These figures will be used to establish a national RPAC fundraising goal. The Board of Directors also decided to simplify the RPAC system, which will involve the elimination in 2017 of all state and local RPAC award categories, with the exception to the Triple Crown and the President's Club awards. RPAC leaders reported that 367,938 N.A.R members, or 32% of the association, made donations this year, which is a 1% increase over last year. Also, a report was 100% of the members who sit on committees at the National Association of Realtors for the first time in history had a 100% participation rate. So, cultural investments. The Board of Directors approved spending $1.2 million to maintain N.A.R's sponsorship of the Within These Walls exhibit at the Smithsonian Institute at the American History Museum in Washington, D.C. The exhibit opened in 2001 and uses historic house from Ipswich, Massachusetts, to showcase construction methods in the colonial days and celebrate the importance of the home to generations of families that it lived in. Patent infringement insurance. The Board of Directors approved a recommendation by the Legal Action Committee to purchase liability insurance for N.A.R itself, realtor-owned MLSs, and state and local associations to protect against patent infringement claims by patent trolls, which are profiting by seeking fees for use of overly broad patents that they use. Legal assistance. The Board of Directors approved spending roughly about $221,000 to support legal activities undertaken by the National Association of Realtors, a local association, and state association. And these were the following things that they contributed towards. $161,000 went to settle the balance on outstanding legal costs for N.A.R's successful challenge to validity of a patent so-called patent troll was using to demand fees from real estate companies using certain email listing alert system. As a result of the challenge, the patent owner, Data Distribution Technologies, Inc., granted it a covenant not to sue in the entire real estate industry. There was also $50,000 given to the St. Louis Association of Realtors to challenge the validity of county rental ordinances. $10,000 was also given to the South Carolina Association of Realtors to help it defend an arbitration decision it made in a commission dispute case. Advocacy grants. So the Board of Directors also approved several state and local associations to support advocacy activities. The Puerto Rico Association of Realtors received $35,000 to help win a repeal of a law imposing a sales tax on real estate services. The Texas Association of Realtors received $169,000 to help win lower property taxes for homeowners. So separately, the leadership team also reported that realtor associations in several high-cost areas in California also received grants to fight rent control proposals, which Lee was kind of mentioning, among other things related to escalating housing costs as well. Tom wanted me to conclude with, it has been a pleasure that I pass along to you all the information that the National Association of Realtors Board of Directors unanimously approved Emirates status for one of our past presidents, Ernie Henry, who joined N.A.R. in 1971. So he wanted to congratulate him for all the things that he has done for our association as well for our profession. That concludes his report. He would like to thank all the West San Gabriel Valley Association of Realtors for allowing him to serve and represent the members of the West San Gabriel Valley Association of Realtors. Signed, Tom Berge Jr. Thank you, Tom. All right, so I just want to kind of conclude with a couple other things that maybe were not discussed that might have, some concerns or some eyebrows raised for you guys. On the risk management committee, some of the top issues that people are facing all across the nation, which are coming up, which some of you may have experienced, and we're experiencing this locally, is wire fraud is becoming a very huge issue. So be very careful with kind of your emails, especially when it gets close to funding and you have them wire information about where to send the money. Make sure you contact your escrow officers. Don't send too many emails about funding and bank information, etc. Make sure you call the escrow officer and get verbal confirmation. Property manager claims is always a big issue. Dual agency is a rising concern, again, in our industry. And the use of drones in real estate marketing. So a lot of people nowadays, they're using drones for a lot of the marketing that they're doing. Some of the issues that are coming across this is, damages that happen when the drone falls in and it breaks personal property. And also, privacy, invasion of privacy is one of the big issues that people are having with drones. There's also cyber crimes or phishing scams that are going on. One of the things that the gentleman mentioned was a big thing that's going on is there's predators out there that are putting keys with a photo and a USB drive, and they'll leave it on the floor in hopes that somebody's going to pick it up and say, okay, somebody lost their keys, and they see the USB drive, and they put the USB drive in their computer. And when they put it into their computer, basically it compromises their entire computer, and they have complete control. He said it's an alarming rate, 15 to 20% success rate with these guys. So be very careful if you see keys, USB, leave it alone. It's something that's, once when it happens, they completely take over your computer and you have no control whatsoever. FAA on drones has been a big issue lately in terms of who can operate it, right? So there's been this huge controversy on what kind of licenses does somebody need to operate a drone. We have finally come to a conclusion. You only now need a certificate to operate, which costs about $150. You no longer need a small pilot's license in order to operate one. It must weigh at least no more than 50 pounds, which would include the camera. They do have to, whoever's operating the drone must register the drone with the FAA. It can only be used for daytime operations, so you can't use it flying over at night. The operator must have a clear line of sight at all times of the drone, and they cannot fly no more than 400 feet above. So those are the requirements that are required. Some of the people kind of mentioned, well, is it our responsibility whether or not we check the person that is operating the drone if they have all of these requirements? At the end of the day, they said it's best that you do check that they do have it, because if something does go wrong, they're going to point their finger back at you. So keep that in mind. Another big issue that's coming up is ADA compliant websites. What does that mean? Most of the time we think ADA compliant, we have ramps or handicap accessibility. This is coming up in a lot of court cases across the nation where our websites now must be ADA compliant. So what does that exactly mean? They're still discussing this. because the ADA policies predate a lot of the websites that were out there. So they are still kind of in a working motion with this. So just kind of be aware in the future, we'll probably need to make all of our websites ADA compliant. So keep in mind for that. Project Upstream. Have any of you guys heard of Project Upstream before? We have like 1, 2, 3 people. This could change the game of our real estate industry. So keep an eye out for this. It's a broker-centric movement. A lot of the bigger real estate franchises are adopting to this. And what it is they're trying to get control back of their data or having one single port to input all of their listings. So right now, in most cases, what we do is we input our listings into an MLS, right? From the MLS, if you're part of a franchise, the franchises have another website that they have to input their information onto. Then you have the IDX exchanges, which then goes and filters out to all the other different websites. What Project Upstream will do is create more efficiency in terms of there's going to be one single site that you upload all of your information to, and then it gets distributed out. This could change the game because, from an association or MLS standpoint, that could wipe us out completely. So we're still kind of monitoring this. If you want more information on it, there's upstreamre.com. You can go to that website and find out more information in regards to Project Upstream. Lastly, I want to kind of give I'm a numbers guy, so I want to see what's going on. And Lawrence Yun had a great presentation, and he kind of went through what does the housing market look like for next year. I'm sure everybody's kind of curious. So there's a recent poll to consumers whether it'd be a good time to buy property. 70% still feel that it is still a good time to buy real estate, but this is down from 85% from last year. So this could show a little bit of sign of movement in the marketplace, sentiment of where the housing market may go. Some of the factors of this decision was the increase in mortgage costs going up, and also the cost of renting, which Lee had mentioned as well too, increasing so much. So now a lot of people are in this influx of, well, do I buy, do I rent? Or they're kind of sandwiched in between, two difficult decisions because it's both rising on both ends. And affordability is becoming a huge, huge problem. Desire to own a home is still strong within Americans, but the actual home ownership rate is at a 50-year low, which is a huge decline in home ownership level, especially with a huge decline in home ownership level under the younger generation, which it's mainly due to the fact of housing costs and a lot of student debt these days. So my generation is very stuck in a situation where, yes, we do want to own homes, but because home prices are so expensive and they're incurring a lot of debt, it makes it unaffordable for us. So signs of a good market and economy, that borrowers are not defaulting. Back in 2009, the national default rate was at 10%. Today in 2016, we are less than 4%. So that is very good signs that the housing market is running at a very good pace. Investor sales are down now. They only make up about 14% of our sales. And the biggest unhealthy trends that Lawrence Yun sees is mainly, of course, the affordability. And this is only due to the lack of supply that is out there. It was an interesting slide that he posted up there. So he put a slide about the household average median for young adults under 35 and retirees over 65, and what their net worth was. In 1983, which happens to be the year I was born, young adults, median net worth was $15,260. A retiree at 65, $120,524. Young adults, 2016 has dropped to $8,500. The retiree has gone up to $230,000. So that's a huge concern of what my generation is facing in today's environment. You guys ever wonder where your tax dollar goes to? Yeah. I was. So Lawrence, you can also put up a slide. For every $100 of your hard-earned tax money, where does it go? $28.91 of that 100 goes to Social Security. $25.89 goes to healthcare, so Medicare, Medicaid. $20.32 goes to the defense and military benefits. So right there, that's about 75% of your tax dollars. That's where it's going to. The rest ends up going to civilian federal retirements, transportation, refundable credits, food stamps, education, Justice Department, housing assistance, and so forth. So, lastly, he had one chart which I thought was very interesting of what's kind of going on in our marketplace right now. So he had a slide that showed, what was going on in our marketplace in the year 2000 and what's going on in 2016. In 2016, and the reason why he picked 2000 was because that was most likely a normal market in recent years, because that was right before the boom started happening in 01, and then we had the crash back in 08. So 2000, he said that was probably the last normal market that we had. So he compared 2000 to 2016, and this is the last thing I'll leave with you, so this is food for thought. Is existing home sales back in 2000, 5.2 million. 2016, we only have 5.3 million. New home sales, this is pretty shocking. 2000, we had 900,000 new home sales. In 2016 so far, we are paced at 500,000. So you'll see a huge, huge disconnect in terms of new properties being put onto the market and inventory. Population at that time, 282 million. Today, we stand at 324 million. So there's a 40 million population difference, and our sales have not really increased, and new homes coming onto the market has decreased. So this is playing a huge factor into what's going on with our housing market. At that time, jobs were at 132 million. Today, they're at 145 million. And the total net worth back in 2000 was 44 trillion as compared to 85 trillion today. So the gaps are getting a lot wider. So I will leave you guys with that. I thank you guys. And Brian, I'll give you the floor back.